So hi again. So I'm Anna. I'm a postdoctoral researcher working on the Digital Islam Across Europe project. So for today's talk, I wanted to briefly present you our project and then obviously our use of Archivit and Arch. Just in short, so Digital Islam Across Europe is a chance multi-country research project, which itself is funded by a European program called Horizon 2020. And this project analyzes how different online spaces shape Muslim social and religious practices in 5 different European countries. So we have the UK, which is also lead on the project with Professor Frederick Volpe of the University of Edinburgh. And then we have other partners in other countries in Lithuania, Poland, Sweden, and Spain. And this project has begun at the end of 2022 and will keep going till the end of September 2025. So the main focuses of our project revolve around various topics like gender, authority, online and offline interaction. Each team kind of is looking over one specific aspect of the project, but all teams are more or less expected to collect data to similar methodologies, except obviously in cases where we have some ethical challenges. Generally speaking, data is collected through 3 main research methods. We have obviously website data and collection and analysis, which is headed by Professor Gary Bont of the University of Wales, Trinity St. David. And then we have qualitative interviews with who we are called online producers and online users. And finally, we also have a quantitative survey measuring Muslims' attitudes online. So just to begin, a few words to introduce how we began using the archive for this project. So it was actually, as I said, it's Professor Gary Bont who is heading this aspect of the project, and he's been researching digital Islam since the 1990s. So he realized the enormous potential of Archivit and with his experience of seeing how, these websites and so the volatility of this space, obviously. And this method was initially began in our sister project, which is called Digital British Islam, which initiated a couple of months before ours. And then, and this project is headed by Professor Gary Bont. And then when our project began, I was recruited and I took over the technical aspects of Archivit for this project after an initial training. And therefore, I also wanted to underline that the archives that we work on are actually put together by our team. And also, as you will see, that we are none of us are web archivists, and we are all social scientists for the most part. So we're really learning as we go, especially thanks to the Archivit and Arch team. So as I said, Digital Islam is a project which involves 5 different countries. And so in order to set up this archive, we asked each country team to send us a list of the websites that they believed to be the most relevant, that had like Muslim organizations, Muslim actors. Like this is an example that what we would get. And then we were in charge of inputting this into Archivit. Also a quick precision that for this project, we are not archiving any of the big social media. So no X, no Facebook, no Instagram. And this for various reasons, but to make it simple because it takes up too much space and also because of some ethical considerations. But obviously because social medias are so crucial, we do analyze them, but we are not archiving them. So for Digital Islam, we now have a total of 21 collections. There are hopefully more to come. And each collection is regularly updated whenever we find a new important URL that comes up, or if the websites come out during interviews or in the analysis of our quantitative survey. And also we are in the process of recrawling websites because our first crawl happened more than a year ago. And this is really, really interesting for us because sometimes you can kind of follow a seed and see what happens. And this can also give us clues into also, the overall health of some organizations, etc. So that's also really interesting. And so the 21 collections that we work with are subdivided either according to a specific country. So this is the case for the Lithuania, Poland, and Sweden collection, or according to a country and a specific topic when we had a lot of websites to work with. So this is especially the case of Spain and mostly the UK. And finally, we also have collections pertaining to current events. In this case, we have seeds that are coming from our different countries into one. So once we have set up these collections, we decided obviously to make them public. And so you can access them directly through the Archive It interface or through our project website, which I will talk a bit about in a few minutes. And the objective was clearly to really make this archive accessible to researchers and to the general public. Also, as you can see, for each website, we are trying to input metadata in the form of descriptions, subjects, languages, or the coverage of our websites, if it's something local, if it's something global, so that, improving the searchability of the whole collection. And I mean, obviously, this is still a work in progress, but we're slowly getting there, I hope. So as I said, we also set up a project website. And in the website, we're also presenting collections in two different modes. So either a collection page where you can access a short description and you have the embedded Archive It page, or we have longer introductions where you can really understand the overall architecture of the collection with snapshots, etc. So and then also because of this being an international project, we have really made sure that the content is translated in the different languages, so of our partner countries. So for each collection, we have made sure to include the language of the specific country, like in the case of Lithuania, as well as on obviously the Archive It interface. So as I also mentioned, we have these current events collections. And for these collections, we have also included in our website longer pieces where we not only analyze them through the collection perspective, but also we have embedded social media. And so we're having longer analysis of the whole reactions to these events from the various Muslim communities in our countries. So as we were setting up these archives, Professor Gary Bond thought it was a really good idea to kind of put these archives and in our collections and bring them to life. And so have developed some visualizations of these collections, especially because he became aware of the existence of Arch. And so we set up an account and we are starting to experiment a bit with this wonderful tool. So I wanted to share a few examples of what we have begun to do. As I said, once again, I want to underline that we're very much not novices to this web archiving, but I think we are really lucky because especially with the web tutorials, we are making good progress in our meetings. So the first examples are a couple of word clouds that we started developing with our current events collections. And this is using Arch and inputting it into Voyant. And here we have two different examples. So one is using our Israel-Hamas crisis current events, and one on the Quran burning episodes that happened in Sweden. And so it was really interesting for us to really analyze the keywords that emerged in these two different examples. And we have been kind of working around this and other collections. And it was, but the tool that we found the most useful and most fascinating for us was the domain graphs. Especially because our project is an international project. And so we're really interested in the whole transnational ties that can be built between our various, the organizations in our various countries. And so the first example I wanted to share is one using the Lithuania collection that we developed using Arch and then putting it into Palladio. And here what you see initially is like we have a bit of, isolated seeds and then this big chunk of interconnected seeds. So if we go a bit more into zooming into this interconnected group of seeds, first of all, we see that most of these blogs and websites are associated to what we call Salafi Muslim groups, even though the term Salafi is very complicated and something that can be defined in different ways over time. But to make it simple, it's either those who self-identify as Salafi or also those that are doing a bit more of a rigorous and also promoting a more pure Islam. And they're also very engaged in missionary actions. So obviously developing websites is part of this whole process. And so, and this was really interesting. So to see, and also the red circles is that we noticed with the Lithuanian collection is that we have a lot of links with the UK groups as well. And so this also confirmed what our colleagues were saying, that from Lithuanian and smaller organic places where we have less smaller Muslim populations, and obviously many are looking to the bigger, most established Muslim groups, and in this case the UK. And so because of this important number of Salafi blogs and websites, I decided to use the create a custom collection option with Arch. And so I grabbed seeds from our Lithuania, our Spain, and our UK collection. And I also created a CSV file. And I wanted to create an example where I could actually find 3 seeds from these collections that interconnected. I don't know if it's a bit complicated, but I'll show you what I mean. So here I have these 3 seeds from 2 from Lithuania and 1 from Spain, and we see that they interconnect in the middle. And so it was, I haven't analyzed all the websites, but one of them was really interesting because it was like a big important UK Salafi website. So kind of seeing how these different organizations interconnect. And then what did I want to do? Oh yes. So really, what we were trying to see in this analysis for us is that the fact that we can take these results and kind of obviously compare them with like offline field notes with literature on transnational ties, and also maybe measure with this technical financial strategies of these different groups and actors. So another example I wanted to show concerns the Ahmadiyya community. So just to define them briefly, so it's a Messianic movement that emerged at the end of the 19th century in British India. And they believe that their guide was the new Messiah, so they're considered a bit controversial by, say, the mainstream Muslims. And what was really interesting for us is that they have a big online presence, and I believe they were the only groups who actually had websites in all of our countries. And so once again, what I did is I created a custom collection with the different groups from our collections to kind of see what happened if inputting this to create domain graphs. And so here we have, unfortunately, I wasn't able to include the Polish seed, but I will work on that maybe later on. But here what was interesting is that we have this interconnection between the 3 countries. And then we have, Lithuania here on its own, and then we have an Ahmadi imam. And so, trying to see where, how the whole connection works between these different groups. And also what was interesting is that Palladio has this option of ranking seeds by the numbers of interconnection. And so I noticed that 2 of the top ones were actually youth organizations. And so obviously kind of to, show how, many of those when, developing websites is also to kind of look towards the youth, so kind of confirming this whole aspect as well. And then so I wanted to use the same custom collection, and I inputted that into Gephi. First of all, I didn't clean it up, so I kept all the social media. And obviously here we have a bit, we can't see what we want to see, but I think maybe this will be useful later on if we want to see which organizations work with which social media. But then like I manually cleaned it up and I input it again. And so we have a similar result than with Palladio. But what's really interesting was the sizes of the spheres here, because it really shows us the most important websites to which most of them are interconnected from our different countries. But unfortunately, if we have the bigger and then we have the smaller ones are not visible. So obviously you have pros and cons for each tool. And I think that's really like what is also really interesting here is that, it's taking different collections and then putting them in these different tools and seeing different things. And so trying to analyze them with our offline experience. And this is like the whole point, I think, of archiving and Arch. And I really showing for us that, the tremendous potential that these two tools have been for our project. So thank you for your attention. And if you do want to know more about a project, and you can follow us and contact us as you wish. Thank you so much.